Class 10th, English, Chapter 4, From the Diary of Annie Frank. Question Answer. First question. What makes writings in a diary a strange experience for Annie Frank? Answer. First, she had never written anything like this before, and secondly, she thought that nobody is going to read or would be interested in her diary. Question number 2. Why does Annie want to keep a diary? Answer. Annie wants to keep a diary as she didn't have friends. Question number 3. Why did Annie think she could confide more in her diary than in people? Answer. Annie felt that paper had more patience than people to listen to her plight. So it was easier for her to write all kind of thoughts which she had in her mind. Her personal diary was not meant for anyone else to read. Question number 4. Why does Annie provide a brief sketch of her life? Answer. Annie provides a brief sketch of her life since no one would understand a word of her musings if she were to jump right in. Question number 5. What tells you that Annie loved her grandmother? Answer. Even after the death of her grandmother, Annie lights an extra candle on her 13th birthday on behalf of her grandmother. This tells us that Annie loved her grandmother. Question number 6. Why was Mr. Keesing annoyed with Annie? What did he ask her to do? Answer. Mr. Keesing was annoyed with Annie because she talked very much in the class. He assigned her extra homework, asking her to write an essay on the subject a chatterbox. Question number 7. How did Annie justify her being a chatterbox in her essay? Answer. She gave two arguments to justify her chatterbox. One, that chatting in students' traits, and other reason that nothing can be done about the inherited traits. Question number 8. Do you think Mr. Keesing was a strict teacher? Answer. No, Mr. Keesing was not a rigidly strict teacher, but he just wanted his students to be silent while he was teaching. Question number 9. What made Mr. Keesing allow Annie to talk in class? Answer. Annie's last essay in the form of a poem showed Mr. Keesing the lighter side of a naughty child. It helped bridge the generation gap between the teacher and the student. 10th question. Was Annie right when she said that the world would not be interested in the musings of a 13-year-old girl? Answer. No, Annie was not right when she said so because her diary became very popular. It was translated into many languages and she became famous due to her diary. 11th question. There are some examples of diary or journal entries in the Before You Read section. Compare these with what Annie writes in her diary. What language was the diary originally written in? In what way is Annie's diary different? Answer: it was originally written in Dutch. It has informal tone, while we generally find people write diary in quite formal tone. 12th question: why does Annie need to give a brief sketch about her family? Does she treat Kitty as an insider or an outsider? Answer: Annie provides a brief sketch of her life because this helps the reader to develop a connection with the author. In fact, Kitty was mere a diary outsider, but she treated the diary as her best friend insider. 13th question: how does Annie feel about her father, her grandmother, Mrs. Cuprus, and Mr. Keesing? What do these tell you about her? Answer: Annie feels deep love for her father, misses her grandmother, respects Mrs. Cuprus, and finds Mr. Keesing strict. All this shows that Annie not only understands people but also develops lasting bonds with them. 14th question: what does Annie write in her first essay? Answer: in her first essay, Annie accepts her mistake. She argued that she had inherited her talkative nature from her mother. Therefore, it was difficult to control. 15th question: Annie says teachers are most unpredictable. Is Mr. Keesing unpredictable? How? Answer: yes, Mr. Keesing was unpredictable because in the beginning he seemed so strict, but later on he changed and allowed Annie to talk in class. वीडियो देखने के लिए धन्यवाद। अगर आपको ये वीडियो पसंद आए तो वीडियो को लाइक करें और अगर चैनल पर नए हैं तो चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करना बिल्कुल भी ना भूलें। थैंक यू फॉर वॉचिंग।